Hello and welcome to Soap Scoop, the Inside Soap podcast. Thank you for joining us and for all the likes, subscribes and comments. We love them and really appreciate them, so keep them coming. So this week, me and Chloe will be getting into all the big spoilers, including Cain's new fight for life in Emmerdale, Corrie's Will meeting his match, and EastEnders' Joska Goss, and the next, Mrs Beale. Intriguing. So Chloe, we are united in most things in soap land, but not on one thing. I need to get this out in the open. We need to clear the air on, in my absence, Farmgate. Let's just call it Farmgate. We're going to start with Emmerdale. And the big debate is not who's trying to bump off Cain or who's Rona going to choose, Marlon or Graham. It's Chloe's obsession with the farm, and my Johnny kind of hates it.
I mean, the way you're phrasing it there as well, Chloe's obsession with the farm, is very negative connotations. Like, I just think over enthusiastic interest is fine. It's more the fact that you've been bullying me constantly. I like to think that I feel really validated because it feels like Emmerdale are on my side, Team Farm, and they've said to you, Johnny, we've taken your country file jakes and we've tossed them aside because this is Emmerdale, farming is the future. Get over it.
Mea culpa. I mean, yeah, I was obviously wrong. Yeah, I guess, I just didn't want a whole thing about arable farming and how to grow the best parsnips or something. Do you know what I mean? That was my fear, that Emmerdale would turn into kind of country file. As for these sheep noises and moves that I've been making at you in the workplace, I can neither confirm nor deny.
Okay, we'll just have to put that down to rumor and speculation.
I mean, Gareth, what about if you do you live near a farm? Can you hear farming?
I actually do. I literally live on a farm. I am not in charge of the farm or involved in any way. I'm not sponsored by a farm. I just happen to live next door to one.
Are you sure? Was it you who stole the herd? Let's not get into it. I went.
Yeah, say. Well, the cattle heist was absolutely incredible. I mean, the whole thing with Joe and his moving on comment, love it. But I said before, like, yes, we enjoy booing at Joe, but he's such a fun villain. Charity pretending to give birth on the side of the road to distract him. Classic kind of Dingle caper. Amazing stuff. Like, super enjoyable. And that's why I'm like, this is the type of farming that I wanted. We're using the Emmerdale location, the farming, but just bringing all the kind of the normal fun side of it. And it's a nice break from kind of the darkness as well, I think.
Yeah, I really did, despite myself and despite my, trolling farm-wise. I really loved that whole heist thing, which I didn't think I would, to be honest. It was really funny, especially, the charity stuff, particularly. It was just really characterful as well. And it did feel almost like we don't want a break from the drama because we want the drama, obviously. But it did feel like almost like a little slightly lighter break from like the sort of relentless misery that there has to be in soap, but particularly Emmerdale, the slavery and the county lines and, the cancer. And it's been very bleak. It's been brilliant, but it has been bleak. So I did sort of, appreciate some levity was really.
And it was nice to involve Cain as well, and that it's not kind of just been about the cancer and Moira's kind of plight in prison. It did get Cain involved, even though he wasn't kind of directly involved. And it's still nice that he gets to kind of touch on. I feel like it's this Dingle stuff, and that's what I said to you. I liked about the sheep farming stuff that they had last year when it was right in the kind of middle of Mac in the bunker. We had Ross and Victoria and Robert and Matty running around a field chasing some sheep. So I think it's a nice balance. I think keep that up. I'm really happy that that's the direction they're going in.
What about Aaron talking about a sheep's chuffer?
That was line of the week for me. Like, I cannot be topped. It was very, to the point. He's not doing that for the sake of some woman getting her shepherd's pie. I mean, fair enough.
Yeah, I mean, he's not gonna get a part on the Yorkshire Vet or All Creatures Great and Small, is he? He's not that into it. It's an image I didn't really want, if I'm honest.
It's an image you didn't want. I mean, that's why he was out of there straight away. I like the fact he's very useful, fixing tractors. Like, I see him as a very practical person to have on a farm, maybe not involved in the animal side of it, but I could see him, fixing the buildings, the fences, stuff like that. That's what he'd be good at.
Yeah, I think so. So can we move on from the farm and are we now friends again? Is it okay?
Yeah, with friends. As long as there's no more like mooing at me in our Monday morning meeting, we're fine.
Big stuff this week for Cain. Now, you said about Cain, he did get a bit of a a slight break from the misery, had some more like fun stuff to do. Not so much in the I think the spoilers we're going to be talking about next week. So even Chaz, I think the other day, when she was talking to Kim, kind of remarked on, as people sometimes do in soap, "Oh, I just can't believe that so much happens to one family. It's as if we're in a soap." Must feel this because not only has Cain got cancer and is facing that really, really big struggle, not only is his wife in prison for something she didn't do, but like this terrible crime she got kind of framed for. Not only that, he gets run over.
I can't believe it. What's next? Like, I honestly can't think of anything more. I mean, I don't even want to jinx it
No,
because
stop saying. And look both ways, kids. This is the lesson here.
and it's the typical situation where I think he's on the phone at the time and is like, everything's gonna be okay. Do not say that. Never say this is gonna be the best Christmas ever or next year is gonna be our year. Never say those words.
It's so true. It's real vibes of it's going to be the best Christmas Walford's ever had. And they always put that in like the trailer teasing EastEnders
Yeah.
Christmas just before
And
you see.
we all know it won't be. It was very Final Destination. It's very much like, phew, didn't get on that plane. Yeah, well then you get run over, don't you? I mean, I feel like Cain, we always have the Terminator joke in our magazine because there are some characters that are indestructible and Cain is one of them. Yeah, I mean, there's several people I think that are in the lineup of as to who it could be. But I mean, I wouldn't want to be whoever it is because that family are going to be gunning for them because how much worse can it get? And I believe that it's in the run up to him having his operation. So presumably this is going to delay that. It's going to cause all sorts of complications with his cancer. I mean, this is the man that only discovered he had cancer because he was shot. There's no happy days for Cain. And I've seen so many people say, is there going to be some nice stuff for Cain and Moira? I mean, do they know where they're living? It's Emmerdale, so no is the answer.
No, I know he'd forgotten he'd been shot. This is the level we've got to, like, because bad things happen to him so often. Do you remember, if you remember your 90s, the Fast Show, that sketch show with Unlucky Alf? Was it Unlucky Alf? Who just had, he basically was Cain Dingle. If anything bad was going to happen, it was going to happen to him. Unlucky Alf. He was shot. He's okay? Like, is there a bullet still in there? Did they just get so distracted by the cancer?
Well, I think he's all good. I think that was how they discovered the cancer, and that's why he was able to get his treatment and hopefully be fine. But I feel like, well, I know we always say this because we always say it's soap. There's no happiness. It's relentless kind of drama, misery. That's what you're going to get. But I do feel like if and when, and it has to be when, I don't believe it's if, when Moira gets out of prison, there has to be some little nugget of happiness, even for half an episode, that her and Cain are due for, because they are like the power couple of Emmerdale and they have been through, every year is awful for them, but this has to be the worst year for Cain and Moira.
Yeah, and it's only like barely April, so technically 26. I think half an episode of happiness is very, very optimistic. I think a scene, perhaps.
I thought one scene. Well, I live in hope for that one scene because I do love them. While we're on the topic of couples, I want to raise a comment with you that we've had. We always debate this every week, and I'm very staunch in my opinion. I will not be swayed. You can disagree with me, but I will not be swayed. June said, "Give me Graham over Marlon any day. Sorry, I think they'd be better suited with other people." June, sorry, disagree. Can't stand Graham. Rona, what are you doing this week? It's now or never for Rona to start making
Now, like for the 88th time, like I feel we've been here before. And June, please, June, does June explain herself? Does June?
I want June to tell us who she thinks Marlon would be better suited with, because I'm not disputing. I do not think that him and Rona are the best couple ever or like meant to be, because I like them together, but they've been through a lot of miserable storylines and not in the way that Kate and Moira have. I feel like Marlon and Rona just seem to snipe at each other a lot. Whereas Cain and Moira, I do feel they have that kind of endurance to them. So I'm not here kind of waving the flag for team. What would we call them? Ralon?
Ralon? Mona.
We,
Mona.
Grona?
Mona.
No,
Marlon and
that's Graham. Yeah, Grona is Graham and Rona. So yeah, I'm not waving the flag here for Rona and Marlon. But who would Marlon be with? Like pretty much every single woman in that village is related to him.
That's true, but I would like to ask why you don't think Rona and Marlon, Mona, but not like it sounds like you don't think they're a forever couple. I'm kind of shocked by this. Where's this come from? You've never aired this before in my presence.
It's more because I just think, like, when Marlon had his stroke and they got married, it was lovely. I was quite happy to see them reunited because I wasn't particularly a fan of Rona and Paddy either. Like, they were fine. They're like a B tier couple where I'm like, I'm happy to watch you. I'm happy that you're together, but I wouldn't, start writing fan fiction. Like, that's my level.
That's your level.
But
Oh,
I'm happy for them. Whereas with Rona and Marlon, when they got back together, I was like, oh yeah, I can really feel this. Like, yeah, I feel like they make a nice kind of blended family. I still do. But I think what they've been through has just been relentlessly miserable. And Rona tends to kind of default to this really, like, I don't want to be mean, but quite nasty,
You can be
like,
quite
body
spiky.
stuff.
What I think you got to think of Cain and Moira to get to where they've got to. How many affairs did they have on both sides? Like years for them to get where they are, and it for a long.
Are you trying to say that Rona needs to go and sleep with Graham and that'll fix the marriage?
Well, I'm with June. I'm not necessarily with June. I don't know. I feel like yeah, she can be a bit spiky. I do prefer her with Marlon. I think Paddy was always better with Mandy, really, at that same galley. I did like Paddy and Chaz, but I don't know. I'm shocked that because Marlon and Rona, through the stroke storyline particularly, was so brilliantly done. So I can't really see them with any other people. We have to go back to the whole Graham thing, obviously, because this is what, June wants us to discuss, and we want to discuss it. I know you don't really, Chloe, because you're not really here for Graham, but we are here again with It's Now or Never. But Rona actually has her heart strings tugged at a bit this week because she finds Graham, he's been beaten up. Who beats up Graham? Graham's like Mr. Indestructible, Mr. like Special Ops. But yeah, he's been roughed up, hasn't he? And it makes Fiona feel a bit sorry for him. I'm guessing you're not going to feel sorry for him, even if he's covered in bruises.
No,
It's you. Was it you?
well, maybe I'm involved in the gang. Who knows? No, to me, it's just I'm just a cold-hearted cynic because to me, it's that typical thing of like tend to his wounds, beating the beast, like romance. No, I'm just not here for it because
That's why it's saying Beauty and the Beast. Would that make it any nicer? Maybe.
no, because I think the beast had more personality than Graham. That's what I'm saying.
Okay, we know your views.
I'm sorry to the Graham lovers. I just don't. I know there are so many people out there that love Graham. I just don't see it. I want to see it. Like, please let him do something that makes me go, oh yeah, I get it now. Because at the moment he doesn't feel like, what is his role in Home Farm? What's his job? I don't understand why he's there. I'd like him to do something different.
I saw a dude washing up the other day.
Yeah, actually, that's true. He did do the washing up, so maybe he's going up in my estimations. And we know he can make a good cup of tea, so
Yeah,
tip.
tea and the dishes.
I'll tell you my biggest concern, and I think we have talked about this, is that he only seems to have one outfit, and I am a bit concerned about the smell.
I bet it honks. That red tie and that suit, I really do feel it honks. Unless he's got like the same, is it like Clueless? Like, the outfits are like, yeah, a new suit every day. What Graham does offer us though, and Zoe Henry plays Rona, is in the magazine that's out now, and all good stockists. She kind of gives us a little tease here about the circumstances of Graham's beating, and it seems to be another Corriedale link because Graham is kind of the linchpin to Emmerdale and Corrie now being forever united, like the Marvel Cinematic Universe and all of that. Because if you remember, it was Jodie Ramsay that he was meant to kill, and she got away. She fled to Weatherfield and reconnected with her sister, and is a bit of a crazy. We'll come to her in a bit. So Graham gets beaten up, as Zoe Henry told us that it's actually because he failed on the mission to bump off Jodie back in Corriedale in January. So they finally got up with him, and because Graham can stay hidden and under the radar, seemingly for like 6 years if he needs to, they've caught up with him. So I know ITV keeps saying, no, Corriedale, it was a one-off. We're not going to do it again. And it was a special moment. Maybe that's a double bluff because there's going to be a reference to Corriedale. Does that make you think, maybe Graham's got a bit more interest as a character?
I am interested in the Jodie link because I think she's great. I think she's been. I know people maybe feel that there's been a lot of Jodie. She's been a bit quieter lately, but she's a character who I'm massively intrigued by. And I loved all your face-off, ripping off the mask theories. Jodie is just really intriguing, and I am actually intrigued about her link with Graham. I'm still finding it hard to mesh the two storylines together because why Jodie doesn't feel like she comes from a world of gangs and bumping off it.
That's true. We need because there's still so much we don't know. She's got to feel more before we know more about the whole. It's more like what's her connection to the Graham world? We know about Graham's world. Like we understand. We may not like it, all of us, but we understand Graham is this kind of heightened, action movie kind of guy and vibe and all of that. Talking of Jodie, this is a nice segue, rather like Corrie itself, into discussing Corrie this week. I just want to touch on Jodie. It's not a huge week of revelations for Jodie. This isn't the week she peels her face off and she's John Travolta, just in case you were wondering. That is, but there's just a little bit of tease with her and David this week. So while Graham's getting beaten up by the people who want Jodie dead, Jodie continues her flirtation with David. Why David is not, seeing her for the crazy that she is, I do not know, but then maybe she's just flattering him. So the way to a man's heart, it turns out, is by stealing a wheelie bin. Because there's bin wars with Swala and the next door neighbours. So yeah, Jodie, because Jodie and David are like up to no good, aren't they? They're on their little capers with, dog poo and Adam Barlow and all of this. So yeah, she steals Swala's posh wheelie bin and replaces it with the Platt's like skanky bin. And David thinks, oh, that's so funny. Jodie, you're so nice. Let's have an affair, maybe. Yeah, what would you think if someone stole the wheelie bin for you? Would you then go and have an affair with them?
It's not a turn on for me, I've got to say.
Real different, real different.
Bins are not a pathway to any of that, I wouldn't have thought. But one thing I have a query on the bin front is that, Swallow are looking after a baby at the moment. Do you really want to take the bin that's got the baby poo in? But they seem a bit obsessed, don't they, with poo at the moment? So maybe they do. I don't know.
Yes, that's true. It's Poogate Part 2.
It's going to be nappies. It's going to be baby vomit. It's going to be baby wipes. Why would you want that bin? Why wouldn't you go, I know, we'll take Sally's bin. I imagine Sally has a really nice bin. I imagine she uses like some sort of floral cleaner. I imagine she's out there going, Tim, the bin needs cleaning. Go and do it. Like, I just imagine that she has a lovely bin.
Really lovely bin. Very hygienic. The baby Connie is really putting some treats in that bin. Do you think Jodie and David are going to pour the contents of the bin over Adam Barlow's Rolls Royce, or
He kind of deserves it at the moment. I'm really down on Adam at the moment. I mean, I know the business is failing. What on earth would possess you to think that your only option is to, defend a child groomer?
Yeah,
Really?
I've slightly gone off Adam. Yeah, so maybe he deserves all the nappies on his posh car. Talking of the Maiden storyline, we should get into that as well because that is quite big in the next week of spoilers that we're talking about here. But more from the Will angle, like Will is really in focus this week. And it's quite interesting. I know you've got some views on it. He's basically really going after Sam and really being horrible to him and intimidating him because obviously Will still believes there's nothing wrong here. Will has been so manipulated and brainwashed by Megan. And but he's been very threatening to Sam still, blaming Sam for like exposing this whole thing that Will just feels as Sam's ruined his life because he's ruined the chance that he thought of him and Megan being together. So yeah, what you kind of were thinking of the development of Will's character is quite interesting and a little bit controversial.
Yeah, I think so. Because actually, it's almost like Sam, particularly in this week, I mean, certainly almost in what we've seen so far, Sam's the one that I feel like the audience is going to be being the most sorry for. And actually, that's a quite unusual direction because we should be feeling most sorry for Will. But one thing I think that Corrie's done is quite interesting is not to make Will this kind of super, like, sweet, nice boy that's really been used. And I mean, of course, he's been used and groomed, but we're seeing the kind of the other side to it that sometimes when people are groomed, they end up kind of acting out and misbehaving and being out of character because they've been so manipulated that they are ending up kind of almost destroying their own life because they want this person so much and believe that they are the only person that exists in the world.
Yeah.
And I think we're seeing that with Will in that he's become like quite unlikable. And I think it's quite a surprising direction to go in. I feel this past week that we saw on screen last week where, Will had his hug with Susie and he was having a little cry and he couldn't get in touch with Megan. I did really feel for him that week, but seeing him kind of go after Sam is going to be a really tough watch.
I think it's just evidence of how mucked up he's been by Megan, isn't it? And it's playing out, like you say, they go, that they're showing that he's going into this lashing out mode. He's too young to cope with this. This is the whole point of the story. This is evidence of how much this is gonna really, really muck him up, unfortunately, for want of a better phrase. A long journey he's got to go on to process this, and his emotions are all over the place anyway. Like, this is, Megan knows exactly what she's doing. This is why he's still under her spell, isn't he?
Yeah.
It is interesting and brave of Corrie to play this quite truthfully, that it's not a case of, listen, Will, this is what happened. You've been groomed, you've been manipulated. Okay, yes, I'm very upset. Oh, what a terrible thing that's happened to me, but now I'm fine and I understand it. He doesn't understand. And that, I think, is very clever. And what him and Sam are at such different points emotionally for teenage boys. Sam is so perceptive. Sam is really an old soul, but think of what Sam has been through. Sam lost his mother, very tragic circumstances, and he is just one of those, like, little old men in a little boy's body. He has more emotional maturity, perhaps, than Will, and they're tapping into that. Will just doesn't have it, and that's why. But what's interesting coming up as well, I don't know if you kind of notice Hope's role in this storyline is, like, on the periphery of it. I mean, Hope just has no filter. She doesn't kind of says it as it is. She just finds the whole thing, quite amusing. And yeah, I get the feeling, like, because Hope defends Sam and she's like a good little cheerleader. There's a scene coming up you'll see next week. She's just like being really lippy to Will about his ancient girlfriend and the sort of like taking the mickey out of him, but standing up to him and, like, keeping an eye on the fact that he's being mean to Sam. Do you think, like, Hope actually is the one to, like, sort of knock some sense into Will and make him see what's been going on? Because Hope's getting it.
Yeah, I mean, Hope is she's kind of wise for her years, really, in some ways. I really have enjoyed her recently. I think she's been great, and I'd like to see her sort of be a support to Sam as well as this goes forward. And because I think Sam is really going to sink probably to lower depths than we've seen before. But the interesting thing with Will is that because he's a brand new character, it's quite unusual for Corrie to kind of go to a place where we are sympathizing with him, but we're not necessarily liking him. And I wonder how that's going to shift kind of as the story goes forward. And because I think if he becomes, like, very defensive of Megan and again pushes his family away, is that going to make the audience kind of take against him again a little bit? But certainly, I mean, we've seen Megan is so detestable that there's no mistaking the audience's feeling on that front. And I know we've talked before about the kind of controversies of having quite a lot of villains in Corrie at the moment. And I know we've had some great comments from people, particularly on the Theo front, who want to see him meet a grisly end, shall we say. A brilliant comment from Robert, who said, "Theo death by iron looms," which is harking to another famous domestic abuse soap storyline with Little Mo and Trevor, of course.
Can I just bring up the fact, do you think it's death by Maria's iron that Gary bought her for her birthday? She was like, she's not over it. She was still annoyed, like, oh, Gary bought me an iron for my birthday.
I would like to see some redemption for Gary and Maria, because I'm still not over the fact they were grinning inanely at the awful wedding. I just cannot get over that.
They're just like, maybe they're hiring them out as, like, professional wedding guests because they're on the edge of so many other storylines.
I just cannot get over that, Gary going, "Oh, it's so romantic. What are you talking about?"
Yeah, but Gary's moral compass sometimes is a bit skewed. Gary's idea of what's acceptable in the world, let's just say that's been questionable in the past. But yeah, so maybe maybe they lend someone the iron to finish off Theo.
Well, there is another option. I've got another option for you. If we're kind of you know, coming up with some ideas for how Theo might meet his end, the Smith on YouTube has said, "If Theo doesn't get hit and killed by a Blackpool tram, I'm going to be quite disappointed."
That is so niche and yet so Corrie, isn't it?
Love it.
A Blackpool tram, Alan Bradley, it's probably the most famous soap death of all time. But they've got to get to Blackpool. There's a tram right there. There's a tram on set. And also, let's not forget, ITV, they don't go out on location as much. I can't see them getting to Blackpool. I don't know. I don't know the tram network of Manchester and the Northwest that well. Is there a tram that starts in Blackpool that goes all the way to Weatherfield North via Victoria Street set? I don't know.
It might happen, I'm sure.
Would that be acceptable, the Smith? If it started at Blackpool or it's going to Blackpool, yeah, well, tram, yeah, it's even maybe trams are the way. I mean, Theo seems to be very high up in the possible murder victim thing for this. We're going to find out in a few weeks who this murder victim was. Teased in the flash forward. While we're on Theo and Todd as well, I know it's a very dark storyline, but something I've been thinking about is what's your favorite Todd nickname? Because Theo like always has a little pet name for Todd, but George does as well, and
Shower.
Sean has as well in the part. Other people. So I've kind of compiled a list. But I don't know if we could come up with some more. So Toddington after the services on the motorway.
That was a Theo one, I think, wasn't it? And every time he speaks, I'm just like, whoa.
Yeah, so I don't really like that because I can hear him say it. The other one he said, no, I think this is George. Toddicles.
Prodigals, that was the one that was going to say that was my favorite because that was last week when George, I'm sorry, I just love George so much. George, when he was like, "Oh, you're like a son to me," and he was talking about Todd with Christina, and I was just like, just adopt him. Ireland's gone, like just adopt Todd and like feel like, oh, so cute.
Todd, that would be good.
And then just like, call him, what was it, Toddicles? Oh, it's so sweet. I really love in soaps, especially when there's a relationship that's not kind of like biological family, but they really make it feel like family. And I just really love that about how much George really cares for Todd. And it's funny because when Eileen was around, I didn't get the same. I mean, they were friends and they were business partners, but now I really feel like George is really grown to love him, and it just warms my cold heart, really.
Oh, and your heart is so cold. So be really lovely to hear. There's a bit of a defrost going on, and it's George of all people who's. I agree. It's a bit like sort of Denise and Kim and Patrick, isn't it? You think of them as family, and they're not your family. That's a whole other weird thing, anyway. As they were trying to explain to Josh, and his face was like, "What?" Anyway, I love, yes, George adopting a 40-year-old man. What a lovely thought that is. But I don't know, hot toddy waddy doo dah. What can we get one? I mean, this is a bit of levity in this dark storyline, but hot toddy. What if he got a glow up?
Yeah, I mean, he's going to need it afterwards, isn't he? Bless him. Because I think what's really getting to me, I think, in this storyline is the way that Theo speaks to Todd, like the way he calls him like a pig, and he makes these noises, and
It's like the farm noises I do to you, isn't it?
yeah, in fact, that's maybe why it's so affecting, because I've felt it. But it's the way it's the commenting on his food and what he eats, and if I remember rightly, when they first started dating, it was always going, "Oh, let's get a takeaway. Oh, let's go and treat ourselves." And now he's turned that kind of nice thing they used to do together as this like weapon against him. And, it's. I mean, I know a lot of people say that they're sick of Theo. They just want to see the story end, and I understand the kind of, it's been going on quite a while, but I feel like they haven't rushed it, which I really appreciate when storylines are kind of given the space to breathe. And I do think, yeah, we're probably coming near to the end. But I can't wait to see Theo get his comeuppance. But I will kind of miss that feeling of, when he enters a room and you're just like on edge. But it was nice to see George realize what Todd has been living with. Like he said, Jekyll and Hyde. And he really is, because, 1 minute he's grinning and he's like, "Oh, it's just a joke. It's just a joke." And the next minute he's saying these horrendous things. But I know a lot of people online have been saying they can't wait to see kind of Todd's friends and family like assemble around him. And I think we're getting hints, aren't we, this coming week that we put in the magazine about Summer maybe getting a hint that,
This is
happening.
big. This is big. It's small, but it's gonna get big. I really feel because yes,
Yeah.
somewhat basically Carl implies to Summer that stop pointing the finger at the wrong people for Billy's death. Maybe you should look closer to home. Dot dot dot. Side eye out.
He's been sitting on that for a long time. Like, what's he been doing with that information, really?
Well, I think you'll find he was gonna like announce it all, and then he watched that flash forward, and they said 23rd of April, and Carl was like, "Oh."
Gotta wait. You gotta wait. Yeah.
Yeah,
He's
so he
hanging
will.
on.
It's just that he watched that episode of Corrie and there's flash forward. So unfortunately, he was not in a position to declare what he knows. But it doesn't. I mean, we're not saying that this is when it all comes out, but it does feel like they are building to that because it's whoever's going to die or be killed or be the killer. Feel like the Billy secret is going to add to Theo's litany of awful things he's done. But Summer, I'd say keep your eye on Summer because she's been very quiet. The whole Billy thing has been, I feel, deliberately parked. But yeah, Carl, but maybe Carl's getting a bit of a conscience. Carl was quite self-serving in why he didn't reveal this. Him and Theo were kind of like, well, I'll keep your secret if you keep mine. But maybe Carl is starting to actually think the decent thing here is to expose the truth. Who knows?
Webster and decent, do those words go together? We will find out.
Sorry, I don't know what I just said. I think I've had a bump on the head. So, talking of murders, the Corrie flash forward. There was another murder on Christmas Day. R.I.P. Dr. Anthony Truman, said no one ever, because he was so horrible in those last few weeks. So we're going to talk about EastEnders. It's Jasmine's trial. So she's finally on trial in the stand for Anthony's murder. So we're going to find out her fate, what's going to happen, and all of this. And yeah, that's all fine. A murder trial. Who doesn't love a on location murder trial? With people understand it's all very, very kind of Hollywood movie, isn't it? 12 Angry Men. What we're really loving is back in the square, Jasmine's amazing brother Josh, who we love already. Josh and Joska, is what looks like the start of this much promised and rumoured possible love triangle. Now, Jasmine's got to get out of prison, I guess, for this to happen, but then not necessarily. She could still be in the show and be locked up, and Josh and Oscar could be kind of hiding their relationship, if it does go that far, from her while she's locked up. Or if she gets out and this is all going on, there's a lot to play out here. What are your views on the potential future of Joska / Jazz? Where does Jasmine come into it? How do you make a ship with 3 people? I don't know.
Well, you don't. That's the thing. It's a love triangle.
It works because it's Josh and Jasmine, so it's Joska. It works for both, like.
Yeah. Well, also because we know that Jasmine and I'm gonna get all their names mixed up in a minute. Jasmine and Josh were separated as siblings when they were very young, so it's kind of going to be about them as well and their relationship. So I think that's quite interesting. But I mean, yeah, I think we've all fallen immediately in love with Josh because he is this bright ray of sunshine in the square. I have to say, what is going on with his clothes? He's supposed to be a man of fashion. I do not agree.
No, I'm too old to dress well now. But I do think, is that what the young people are wearing? It's also the vibe I feel from Lewis in Emmerdale, and a similar like newcomer who's really like freshened things up.
Yeah.
Lovely energy and dynamic. I also look at Lewis and think, what is he wearing? But I'm an old man. But yeah, fashion.
I see I understand Lewis's fashion more than I understand Josh's. But you never know. We might see some more interesting outfits as the weeks go on. And what's it in a West the trial? I mean, that's quite interesting in itself. I think there's so much potential in the storyline because I get the sense that Oscar is basically in love already. Like he's absolutely smitten with Josh. I mean, who wouldn't be? He's very cute. He's bright and sunny. The absolute polar opposite to Jasmine, which does make you wonder, like, what was Oscar seeing in Jasmine to be, into that? She's very moody. But are they going to be kind of tempted? Are they going to try and stay away from each other? Are they going to be, sneaking off behind her back? And we know that Jasmine has got this very kind of violent, impulsive rage underneath the surface. So they better watch their backs.
They better watch their backs. And there's more to be explained about that, isn't there? And Josh and Jasmine, we should say, in next week, will be on screen together for the first time. As the trial's taking place, Josh visits her. And we know now from all the backstory, the kind of reams of explanation in dialogue we've had from Josh and Sandra that, yeah, it was about 10, 15 years ago-ish that Jasmine did something terrible and had to go and live with another family. They were about 8, the twins, and they're now about, I don't know, 20, I guess, early 20s. We have yet to really, really dig into what Jasmine did. And also Jasmine's other adopted mum that we met a few months ago. Remember, she came and, Lauren and the other adopted mum down. And she kind of said the same thing, like, when she's got a bit of a screw loose, she's a bit ragey. Then we saw this rage because she killed Anthony, even though he was, could have killed Zoe and like was completely out of control. So absolutely, she's not somebody you want to cross or upset. I wonder whether if she stays in prison for a bit, we're going to get like a Bad Girls vibe going on. She could be top dog in prison. Like we've been in the Corrie prison quite a lot, haven't we? Do you fancy some Bad Girls action? Jasmine's top dog in Walford.
I've got to say I'm not enthralled by the idea, but that's because I feel like I'd like to see a different side to Jasmine. I think we've you've always been a bit shortchanged because we didn't find out till Christmas who she was, even though obviously everyone had their theories, but we haven't really seen her with Zoe and the Slaters. And I think Kat seems to be a bit conflicted over the trial as to, whether Jasmine is, a monster or whether she is misunderstood. And I feel like she, as a character, she's a Slater, essentially. She's a grandchild of a Slater. We haven't really seen her have a fair chance in that respect. Like she's been a loner, she's been an outsider, she's been quite hostile. And I think, although I know some people were feeling a bit like, a bit down on her, I think Josh could bring out an interesting side to her if we see them as siblings together, and hopefully kind of warm her up a little bit and make her feel a bit more like she belongs there, because I think it's going to be difficult for her to come out, especially if Josh and Oscar are getting together. Where's she going to fit in this? Because she already feels a bit on the outside. So I think I'd like to see her find her family in a way and kind of feel part of the Slaters, because Josh sort of feels like he's part of the Trumans in a way. So it'd be interesting to see kind of whether they feel like they're still on opposite families. I think it's going to be quite an interesting dynamic.
If they pitch them almost against each other on purpose, like, yeah, maybe she'll be more of a Slater, he'll be more of a Truman. Yeah, I think there's more to play, but there's almost a bit of work to be done, I think, for the viewers as well, to get to know her, like you say, to see her and Zoe together. This whole thing with Zoe desperate to meet her child/children. Obviously, she didn't realize that, that both twins had survived and were out there in the world. Yeah, happy families. I don't know, but the last thing we're going to talk about this week is potential happiness ahead, or potential the biggest nightmare ever for Ian Beale. He's single. He's ready to mingle. Yes, lock up your daughters or your grandmothers. Everyone wants him and Elaine to get it on, which is bound to happen, I think. But
I just stop you there. Everyone wants this, do they? Everyone?
Everyone, yeah. And everyone loves Graham and hates farms. And so those same everybodies, get ready, because Ian is going to agree to go on a date with B. Bonkers B. Bonkers B. So this is again something small, but you're going to keep your eye on. It starts next week. B's just looking for attention.
B is an icon. I love her.
B is iconic. The only thing that makes me slightly nervous of this is if B and Ian get it on, and she because Ian's all in when he meets someone, she becomes the next Mrs Beale. What's her name going to be? B Beale.
B Beale. I love it. I think it has to happen now. I just think it'd be amazing. She is just balmy, but in the best way. She's so much fun. I don't think she's like a villain. I think she's just really good fun. I think Rona and Claire is amazing. And I know maybe at first it was a bit like, oh, like, is she kind of doing an impression, or like what's she doing? But I think it's actually great to have an impressionist come in and basically be doing an impression of Honey. It's so good. And I love that she's in McClunky's now. Like, what a random location to put her in as a job. But I have to say, last week when she was shouting at those kids, all I could think of was supply teacher.
So true. Oh my gosh. You remember when the supply teacher would come into school and you'd just behave terribly because you think you could get away with it. And it was always like, probably looking back, it's awful, isn't it? Some like trainee teacher, really mild mannered, not a lot of experience. And these horrible kids take advantage and sniff the fear. And then you basically drive the supply teacher to a quivering wreck, and they start.
Oh, and destruction, because she did go a bit crazy on the chairs and the tables and McClunkers because she saw that chip on the floor. So yeah,
she is the supply teacher. That's a great parallel for the story, because she's supply teacher Honey.
She's definitely kind of trying to get Will on side, isn't she? Trying to be like a surrogate mother to him, being like, help me get a job. But I just love her. I just think she's fantastic.
Would you love her if she fell in love with Ian Beale, or would that make you think you really are insane?
No, I could actually see it. I could see the fact that she could kind of weirdly become obsessed by him. I don't know why. There's something about Ian that women seem to become really weirdly obsessed by. But I'll tell you this, my mother, who is a new EastEnders viewer, thinks that Ian is more attractive and charismatic than Max Branning. Discuss.
Okay, well, a lot to unpack there. I mean, Ian's got a better sense of
better prospects. He's got more money, I would imagine.
I think he's got more money. I think he's got certainly better prospects, more business now. We're very politely skirting around the fact that that's all he's got. Yeah, Max has broken a lot of hearts, but Ian has, I don't know,
Ian also has. Ian is, I mean, we talk about Max as the great philanderer, and he is, But Ian has been through so many weddings and wives, and
He has, but has Ian been dumped more? Does Max do the dumping, or Max just ends up mucking it up? I feel like Ian has been dumped by Cindy so many times.
yeah, it's
You get
scary.
fed up, Ian, and walk out often on the wedding day and like say, "Why? Why did I do this?" But I don't know if Ian's broken hearts. He's been more heartbroken. So maybe your mum can sense that. Does she feel a bit sorry for it?
I think she just doesn't understand the Max thing, whereas I definitely understand the Max thing. So I think, but she's missed the Max peak, where he was, the real like lover, that's the era she's missed, and maybe she's just seeing now the slightly more washed up version where he's feeling a bit down. He's like, I'm sorry for himself. No, I mean, last week he didn't even want to pay for a hamper. He was like, "Oh, I'll just get some stuff from the shop and chuck it in a wicker basket." No, Ian, like, where's your sense of, gifting and romance? These are supposed to be your family. Why aren't you being nice to them by buying them a nice engagement gift? So what poor luck is B gonna have on this date? I mean, where's he gonna take her? Beale's eel? What's he gonna do? I think that B is gonna set herself up for disappointment because I feel like B is a romantic, but I don't see B as she's an idealist. She has this sort of these grand fantastical dreams. If she's gonna pin that on Ian, she's gonna be severely disappointed.
You are right, but I think that also she'd be a great she's also got an ambition about her, isn't she? So maybe Ian as potential counselor, I know he's done it before, but he's sees himself as a bit of a pillar of the community and quite upstanding and a bit of status. I think B would like that. And might push Ian into that more because she would love to be the most respected person on the square to be, yeah, like she's quite politician wife, isn't she?
I think she doesn't see it. Yeah, first lady vibes.
First lady, but also politician wife, where the kind of situation where like a scandal breaks out about the husband and they have to stand awkwardly in a doorway to give a statement to the press about the scandal and say, please respect our privacy at this time. And I support my husband fully in his endeavors. There'll be no more questions. I'm getting that vibe, that politician vibe. Yeah. Any other thoughts on B before we wrap up this week's episode?
I'm just intrigued as to, I guess, how far she's going to go to take. I'm assuming she wants to take Honey's life. That's the kind of sneaky way she's creeping in because Honey, as we saw last week, is feeling very vulnerable at the moment with her what she thinks is menopause diagnosis. Is B going to start to manipulate that and start kind of trying to confuse her? Like I'm hoping she doesn't go too dark because I still think I'd like to enjoy her as a fun character and not just like start going, oh no, she's putting Billy and Honey through real torment.
Yeah.
I'd like some fun still, I think.
I think I'd like that, but I do see it going dark. I have to say, I get more of a whiff of quite gothic, heightened craziness coming our way. So yeah, and it is EastEnders, and they can't resist a bit of gothic drama. So we'll see where it goes. We'll see where all of these plots go. So that's it for this week. Thank you for joining us. Please continue to like, subscribe, and comment. We really appreciate it, and we love you all. So thank you for joining us, and we'll be back with more gossip very soon.